I move that Bill 30 now be read a second time. Mr. Speaker, it's my pleasure to rise today to speak about Bill 30, the Cannabis Control and Licensing Amendment Act for 2022. In the 4 years since cannabis was legalized, we've seen the growth of a new legal industry that pays their taxes, contributes to their communities, and complies with strict public health and safety rules. Most BC cannabis consumers now buy legal cannabis from one of over 450 regulated stores, and sales topped $500 million in 2021. BC produces some of the best cannabis in the world, and the value of legal cannabis to BC's GDP surpassed $1 billion in 2021. But legalization is a process, it is not an event. At the time of legalization, BC was at the center of Canada's illicit cannabis market. The shift from illicit to illegal sales was not going to happen overnight. And our current estimates are that just under half the value of all cannabis consumed in BC is produced and sold illicitly. Illicit sellers do not abide by the strict federal and provincial laws that aim to protect minors and promote public health and safety. And illicit cannabis continues to be a profitable business for organized crime. The Community Safety Unit, or CSU, is the primary enforcement unit for illicit cannabis sales in the province. They work closely with police, but primarily rely on seizures and monetary penalties. CSU represents a made-in-BC approach to illicit cannabis sales that aims to reduce pressure on the criminal justice system through progressive enforcement and non-criminal sanctions, the administrative penalties. CSU was initially designed when illicit brick-and-mortar stores were top of mind. But after successfully closing the vast majority of those stores, we've seen remaining illicit operators pivot into the online space to evade enforcement. These amendments will improve CSU's ability to target illicit online stores and production sites by clarifying and in some places expanding CSU inspection and seizure authorities. They will also improve CSU's ability to track online illicit cannabis back to its source by authorizing the director of the CSU, the Community Safety Unit, to be able to purchase illicit cannabis that is online. Other amendments will clarify the role of the director around administrative hearings. For example, clarifying that the director is not the appropriate decision maker to consider constitutional arguments, which is the proper role of the courts. Before I close, I want to add some further comments. We know that there are, when I said at the beginning of my remarks that the legalization of cannabis is not an event, but it is an ongoing process. I believe that this legislation, coupled with the significant changes that we have made in consultation with the cannabis industry around issues such as direct delivery, being able to order online, the developments which are taking in terms of going to farm gate are going to expand the opportunities, along with the Section 119 agreements that we have been putting in place, that are now being championed by many First Nations who have been reluctant to enter that legal market, are starting to show a path that will ensure that we continue to expand the legal market, that we are able to take the enforcement necessary on the illegal market, that we are keeping up with the changes that we see happening as regulations change. And the online issue is particularly important. And so that these tools given to the Community Safety Unit are going to enable them to continue to not only do the work that they have currently been doing, but to be able to expand to those areas where we are still seeing illicit cannabis sales. At the same time, this is the provincial responsibility, that we are also working at the federal level to deal with some of the bigger challenges that we face in terms on the medical licensing regime and the ability of Health Canada in terms of the regulatory framework which they operate under, which can be challenging for producers who want to enter that legal market to be able to get into. We also want to ensure that they understand that one of the key components in terms of enforcement is also on the inspection side. on the inspection side, on the medical health side of cannabis, so that when someone has a license to grow 20 plants, that is all they are growing is 20 plants. Right now, there is very little enforcement or inspection done by Health Canada. That is something that we will continue to push them on to change that, to ensure that that is taking place, because that is one of the biggest sources still of illegal cannabis. All of these things, these initiatives with this legislation before us today, the work that has been done already today, working with that industry, is going to continue to ensure that we can continue to grow the legal cannabis market in this province. So that if we are around 50% with a value to our provincial GDP of $1 billion and over $500 million in sales, that we are able to grow that, which benefits not just the province and the provincial treasury, but also ensures that consumers are buying their cannabis from a legal, safe, tested store that they have confidence in. We know that that is working because we know that more than the majority of people now do buy their cannabis from a legal store. So, Honourable Speaker, there will be more discussion, obviously, on the different sections of this bill that will take place in committee stage. But I look forward to the discussion around these changes, many of which have been developed in consultation with the industry itself, that respond to the industry, to things that they have been asking for. And we will continue on that path. So, Honourable Speaker, I know that there will be a number of members from both sides of the House who will have an important contribution to make on the second reading debate of this bill. And I look forward to that. And with that, Honourable Speaker, I will take my place.